The Paris sky threatened rain as Dolores Jordan walked along Boulevard Saint-Germain. At 81, her silver hair caught the breeze as she glanced at her reflection in a storefront window. She wore comfortable shoes, simple black pants, and a navy cardigan, practical attire for a tourist. Today marked her birthday, and after decades of sacrifice, she had finally decided to treat herself. The storefront of Maison Lumière, Paris's most exclusive boutique, gleamed before her with polished glass and golden fixtures, a temple of luxury frequented by celebrities and royalty. "The perfect moment for a birthday gift," Dolores whispered. "Nothing excessive, perhaps a silk scarf or elegant gloves, just something to commemorate her 81st birthday in Paris." At the entrance stood Marcus, a tall doorman with slicked-back hair and calculating eyes. Dolores observed as he welcomed a diamond-draped couple with a theatrical bow. "Welcome to Maison Lumière, Monsieur, Madame." When Dolores approached moments later, Marcus's smile evaporated. His eyes narrowed as they swept over her practical shoes and travel-worn appearance. "I'm sorry, madam," he said, blocking the entrance. "We're closed for a private event today." Dolores blinked in confusion. "But those people just entered." Marcus's expression hardened. "They're on the guest list." Through the glass, customers browsed normally inside. As another fashionable woman approached, Marcus simply stepped aside without a word. "I only wanted to purchase a small birthday gift," Dolores explained, her voice steady despite the humiliation burning in her chest. "It's my birthday today." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Perhaps another establishment would better suit your circumstances. The tourist shops near Notre Dame might be more appropriate." Inside, a young employee named Sophia watched the scene unfold, her stomach knotting with shame. "Shouldn't we let her in?" she whispered to her supervisor. "Mind your section, Sophia," the supervisor dismissed. "Marcus knows who belongs here." Outside, Dolores straightened her spine, the same spine that had carried her through far worse indignities. "I understand. Thank you for your time." She turned away, her dignity intact. As she reached the corner, the first raindrop fell, trailing down her cheek like a tear. Within minutes, the skies opened, but she didn't hurry. There was nowhere to rush to, just a hotel room and another solitary birthday. In her modest hotel room, Dolores removed her damp clothes. She hadn't shed tears when Marcus turned her away. Life had hardened her against such cruelties, but as she gazed through the rain-streaked window, a deep melancholy settled over her. She picked up her phone. 3 birthday messages from her children waited, including one from Michael. But Dolores wasn't ready to respond. What could she say? That at 81, she still felt like an outsider in places where wealth determined worth. Miles away in Chicago, Michael Jordan sat in a sleek conference room discussing investments, unaware that his mother's experience would soon ignite a transformation. That evening, when Michael's video call illuminated Dolores's phone, she quickly composed herself before answering. "There's my birthday girl." Michael's voice burst through. "Hello, sweetheart," she replied, summoning her brightest smile. "How's Paris treating you? Did you get yourself something special?" "It's not every day my mom turns 81. The question pierced a tender spot. Dolores tried to maintain her smile, but something flickered across her face that Michael immediately detected. "Mom, what happened?" he asked, leaning closer to the screen. "Nothing important," Dolores waved dismissively. "Just caught in some rain." "You've never been good at hiding things from me. What's wrong?" Dolores sighed. "It's silly, really. I tried to visit that luxury boutique, Maison Lumière, to buy myself a birthday present. But the doorman, he wouldn't let me in. Apparently, I didn't look wealthy enough for their clientele." She forced a laugh. Michael's expression transformed, his easy smile disappearing, replaced by something calmer but more intense, a look Dolores recognized from his childhood. The controlled stillness before a storm of determination. "Tell me exactly what happened," he said, his voice deceptively even. Though she hadn't intended to make an issue of it, Dolores recounted the entire interaction, Marcus's dismissive glance, how he'd let others pass while blocking her path, his suggestion that she try tourist shops instead. "I felt like I was 30 again," she admitted softly, "a single mother with worn shoes and 3 hungry children, being judged at every turn." Michael remained silent for a moment. When he spoke, his voice carried that controlled precision she knew all too well. "What was the store's name again?"
Maison Lumière on Boulevard Saint-Germain.
"But Michael, please don't." "And the doorman's name?" "Marcus, I think." "But sweetheart, it's really not worth." Michael's eyes had taken on that distant, focused, the same expression he'd worn when announcing his basketball ambitions or his business ventures. "Michael," she said firmly, "promise me you won't do anything dramatic." He smiled, but it didn't touch his eyes. "I promise I won't do anything to embarrass my mother." That wasn't exactly the promise she'd requested, but Dolores knew her son well enough to recognize it was all she would get. The next morning, Michael arrived at his Chicago office before dawn. His assistant Trevor was surprised to find him already there at 5:30 a.m. "You're early," Trevor remarked, handing Michael his usual coffee. "I need you to find out everything about a luxury boutique in Paris called Maison Lumière," Michael replied. "Ownership, management structure, property details. Everything." By mid-morning, Trevor had compiled comprehensive reports. Maison Lumière is owned by a French conglomerate called Heritage Luxe. They've operated for over a century, but they don't own the Saint-Germain property. It's managed by a Monaco-based real estate firm. Michael nodded, scanning the documents. "Call them. Tell them I want to make an offer for the building. And for the Maison Lumière brand." Trevor hesitated. "Are you sure about this? That's significant capital for what seems like a personal matter." Michael leaned back in his chair. "You know what my mom did when kids bullied me in school? She marched into the principal's office and refused to leave until they addressed the problem." His voice grew quiet but intense. "She worked 5 jobs to feed us. 5 jobs and never complained once." Meanwhile, in Paris, Sophia arrived for her morning shift at Maison Lumière to find groups of employees huddled together, whispering anxiously. "What's happening?" Sophia asked Philippe, a security guard. "Nobody knows for certain," Philippe replied. "But Madame Laurent has been locked in her office since receiving a call an hour ago. She doesn't look happy." The store manager, Madame Laurent, emerged looking pale. "Attention please," she announced. "I've just received unexpected news. The building housing our boutique has been sold." Gasps and whispers rippled through the staff. "Sold?" asked René from the jewelry department. "Yes," Madame Laurent confirmed, "but I've been assured we can continue normal operations for now." Marcus, just arriving for his shift, stepped forward confidently. "It's probably just an interested investor. Nothing to worry about." By lunchtime, rumors were flying. The most dramatic speculation suggested the building had been purchased by a rival luxury brand planning to evict Maison Lumière. Marcus remained unconcerned. "We've been here 100 years," he told anyone who would listen. "We're an institution." At closing time, Madame Laurent gathered the staff again, her complexion ashen. "I've received more information," she said, trembling slightly. "The boutique itself, not just the building, has been sold. The new owner will visit in 3 days to announce changes." This time, even Marcus looked worried. While Paris buzzed with speculation, Dolores Jordan sat in a cafe near the Eiffel Tower, stirring her coffee, lost in memories that yesterday's rejection had awakened. Her mind drifted back nearly 50 years to when she had found herself alone with 3 young children after a difficult divorce. She remembered clearly the day 10-year-old Michael had come home with a black eye. "What happened?" she'd gasped, pressing a cold cloth to his face. "Some boys said we were poor," Michael had murmured. "They said you weren't good enough because you couldn't even buy us new shoes." Dolores's heart had shattered, but she hadn't let him see her pain. Instead, she'd sat him down at their wobbly kitchen table. "Look at me, Michael," she'd said. "Being poor doesn't make us less than anyone else. What matters is who we are, how hard we work, and how we treat others." "But they have everything," Michael had argued, "and they still treat people badly. They haven't learned an important life lesson," Dolores had told him. "True worth isn't about what you own, it's about how you make others feel." Young Michael had considered this deeply, then looked at her with intense eyes. "When I grow up," he'd promised, "I'll make sure no one ever looks down on you again." Dolores had smiled, unaware of how seriously her son would take that childhood promise. 3 days after the incident at Maison Lumière, Dolores was enjoying breakfast when a hotel staff member delivered a cream-colored envelope with her name written in golden calligraphy. Inside was an invitation. "You are cordially invited to a special event at Maison Lumière this evening at 7 p.m. Formal attire requested." Dolores stared at the invitation. This had to be Michael's doing. She picked up her phone to call him but paused. If Michael had gone to such lengths, perhaps she should simply go along with whatever surprise he had orchestrated. "Oh, Michael," she sighed, "I hope you haven't done anything too dramatic." In Paris, Sophia arrived at work to find Maison Lumière closed to the public, with staff rushing about preparing for something extraordinary. Madame Laurent looked uncharacteristically flustered. "Today is extremely important," she emphasized. "The new owner will be here tonight." "Do we know who it is?" Renee asked anxiously. Madame Laurent shook her head. "No, but whoever it is has invited Paris's elite to attend tonight's event. Famous designers, celebrities, business leaders all have confirmed their presence." She distributed assignments, including instructing Marcus to greet guests with exceptional hospitality. Sophia couldn't help rolling her eyes. Marcus's idea of hospitality had always depended entirely on how expensive a guest's attire appeared. At 6:55 p.m., Dolores's taxi pulled up to Maison Lumière. She took a deep breath before stepping onto the red carpet, the flashing cameras making her momentarily uneasy. But she held her head high. Marcus didn't recognize her as she approached, seeing only an older woman dressed in simple but elegant attire. "Welcome to Maison Lumière, madam," he said with his most charming smile, bowing deeply. "Thank you," she replied, looking him straight in the eyes. "How nice to be welcome this time." Marcus's smile faltered slightly, confusion flickering across his face. But before he could place where he'd seen her before, Dolores Jordan stepped past him into the boutique. Inside, the space was packed with Paris's elite. Everyone spoke in excited whispers, wondering what was about to happen. At 7 p.m. sharp, the lights dimmed slightly. A voice announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the grand staircase for a special announcement from the new owner of Maison Lumière." All eyes turned to the imposing staircase at the center of the boutique. Then a figure appeared at the top of the stairs. Madame Laurent gasped audibly. Sophia's eyes widened in shock, and Dolores Jordan whispered, "Oh, Michael, what have you done?" Michael Jordan stood at the top of the grand staircase, dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit. The spotlight made his presence even more commanding, while the crowd below fell silent. "He's the new owner," Renee whispered to Sophia. Marcus stood frozen near the door, his face pale as realization dawned. He suddenly remembered where he had seen the elegant silver-haired woman 3 days ago, when he had turned away Dolores Jordan, mother of the man who now owned Maison Lumière. Michael began to descend the stairs, each step deliberate and unhurried. When he reached the bottom, he accepted a glass of champagne from a waiter but didn't drink. "Good evening," he said, his voice carrying effortlessly. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice. I know you're all wondering why I invited you here," Michael continued. "Why would someone known for sports and sneakers be interested in a luxury boutique in Paris? But before I explain, I'd like to invite someone very special to join me. Mom, please come up here." All eyes turned to Dolores. She gracefully moved through the crowd. As she passed Marcus, she gave him a small nod. The doorman looked at her shoes, unable to meet her eyes. When Dolores reached her son's side, Michael took her hand and gently squeezed it. "For those who don't know, this is my mother, Dolores Jordan," he said proudly. "A nutritionist, model, and the strongest person I know." 3 days ago, Michael continued, "My mom visited Maison Lumière during her vacation in Paris. It was her 81st birthday, and she wanted to buy something special for herself." Dolores tried to stop him with a gentle touch on his arm, but Michael lightly shook his head. He was determined to tell the story. "She was turned away at the door," he said. "Not because the store was closed, not because they didn't have what she wanted, but because, in her travel clothes, she didn't look like someone who belonged in a luxury boutique." A murmur spread through the room, and eyes turned to Marcus, who seemed to be trying to become invisible against the wall. "I didn't buy Maison Lumière just because my mom was treated poorly," Michael clarified. "A rude employee doesn't define a business. But it made me think about what luxury really means and what it should mean." Madame Laurent stepped forward, her face flushed with embarrassment. "Mr. Jordan, please allow me to apologize." Michael raised his hand. "No apologies needed, Madame Laurent. This isn't about punishment. It's about possibility. When I was a child," Michael continued, "my mom worked 5 jobs to support our family. 5 jobs. But there were places she couldn't go, doors that wouldn't open for her, simply because she didn't look rich enough." Dolores squeezed her son's hand, visibly moved by his words. "Today, that changes," Michael declared. "Not just for my mom, but for everyone who's ever felt judged by their appearance rather than their character." The crowd was completely silent now, hanging on every word. Sophia felt her heart beating faster. Something important was happening, something beyond a mere business transaction. "In the coming weeks, Maison Lumière will undergo a transformation," Michael announced. "The boutique will remain a luxury destination, but with a new definition of what luxury means. True luxury isn't about exclusion, it's about craftsmanship and exceptional experience, available to those who value it." Some of the designers in the crowd exchanged nervous glances. "Don't worry," Michael said, sensing their concern. "We won't compromise on quality. The prices won't change. But who pays those prices that will change?" As if on cue, the music began to play again. Waiters circulated with fresh champagne, and slowly the crowd began to mingle once more. But the buzz was different now, excited, curious, a bit restless. Michael guided his mother away from the spotlight to a quiet corner. "I'm sorry if I embarrassed you," he said quietly. Dolores didn't scold him, though her cheeks were flushed. "Michael, buying an entire store isn't a little extreme?" He smiled, the same determined smile she had known since he was a boy. "When have I ever done anything that wasn't extreme?" Sophia watched the mother and son talking quietly. She couldn't hear what they were saying, but she could see the affection between them. Whatever Michael Jordan was planning for Maison Lumière, it clearly wasn't just a business decision. All throughout Maison Lumière, a sense of anticipation hung in the air. Something was changing. A door was opening, but no one yet knew what awaited on the other side.